Actually use my Greek name, which is Elias. That's right.
And giving him the Al Gore treatment.
Yeah.
Somewhere while we sleep, Al Gore is preparing to take office.
That's we'll save that for the Halloween.
He's got a mandate.
Yeah, that is
from 10 years ago.
That is the Halloween episode.
Oh, we needed a scream sound effect here in the bistro.
Very
Wow.
nice.
Yeesh.
And you can actually see us live on the interwebs, which were invented by Al Gore.
Al Gore invented.
If you go to the
actually did do a
Facebook
lot
page,
for
I've
that.
posted a link, and we are live streaming
Over the internet.
on the interwebs on
That's
YouTube.
It. That's it. So
Go to facebook.com/The Political Bistro and check us out. You can. I even combed my hair today. But yeah, I went to the Greek festival to pick up some desserts on Friday after work because we had a little dinner party last night. And then
How
we're-
fun.
And then we're going again to the Greek Festival tomorrow. So if you want to join me at the Greek Festival, I will be there tomorrow afternoon. It's at St. Demetrios Church, which is in the Montlake neighborhood, south of the University District. So you can find out more at seattlegreekfestival.com.
That sounds like fun. And speaking
So
of dinner
cool.
parties, you're going to be giving away some tickets later this
Yes.
show.
So be sure to listen in during the second segment when we'll be interviewing Ben Oakley of the King County Republican Party. I will be giving away 2 tickets to the King County Republican Party Liberty Dinner, which is happening next Saturday, the 18th, at the Bellevue Hyatt. So you have to correctly answer the question, who is Mark's favorite president? A hint is on our Facebook page, and another hint is it is not Al Gore. It is also not William Henry Harrison, although our great producer Chris just pointed out that maybe that should be my favorite president since he was only in office a month, so really couldn't do much.
Yeah, that is small government.
Yeah,
right there.
can't do a lot of damage in 1 month, can
If we
you?
had a president a month, we'd have a lot of presidents. But
It'd be like Italy.
yeah. Amore! It would be more about the amore! Oh, brother. Yeah, well, you know what? When Al Gore does take over, when he launches from his secret base and there's no real-life James Bond to stop him, he will be your favorite president, at least out loud.
No.
He's going to run everything.
Yeah.
Because he invented the internet. Just guess what imagine what he's invented in the meantime.
A secret volcano base.
That's where he's doing it.
Wow. Al Gore is a Bond villain. I think Al Gore is more like a Austin Powers villain.
Yeah, he may have been programmed by a Bond villain.
Maybe it's time to have Jeremy Black on the show again.
Yeah. Ask him what he thinks of Al Gore. I don't know if I really want to
World's
get into
most
that.
published historian.
So, what else has happened today in history besides live streaming here at the Political Bistro for the first time ever? 1582, because of the implementation of the Gregorian calendar, this day does not exist.
Really?
Yes, the Gregorian calendar, also known as the Gorgorian calendar, because also invented by Al Gore. 1910, former President Theodore Roosevelt became the first president to fly in an airplane, also invented by Al Gore. He flew for 4 minutes from Kinloch Field in St. Louis, Missouri. 1912, the First Balkan War, the Greek army liberated the city of Kozani in northern Greece.
Wow.
Greeks are tough. They're my people. The
Yeah.
clefts.
In their chin, as they look into
Yeah.
as they stare
Now,
into
cleft is a
Destiny.
bandit, a mountain bandit.
They all look like gods, too.
That's right. Thank
well,
you.
because the
Appreciate
gods
that.
were, yeah, okay. You too. Enjoy
Very nice.
yourselves.
All right. You can see me stroking my chin, looking sexy if you go to facebook.com/thepoliticalbistro and look at us live stream. Saturday Night Live debuted 1975 with George Carlin as host and Andy Kaufman, Janice Ian, and Billy Preston as guests, also with a cameo by Al Gore. And 1986, Reagan and Gorbachev meet in Reykjavik to discuss their intermediate missile arsenals in Europe. Also present, Al Gore. Celebrating a birthday today, Al Gore. No. Eleanor Roosevelt, born today in 1884. Patty Murray, our own Patty Murray,
Ella Gore, Roosevelt.
in 1950. And Greek long jumper, 1973, Nikki Xanthu. So just
Do we have
not that
any?
anybody knows who that is, but he's Greek, so I figured I'd throw that out
Was
there.
he in the Olympics or just a
I don't
long
know.
jumper?
Just a long jumper. And we're celebrating General Pulaski Memorial Day, so maybe we should have had Polish food, but since we just did that. And it's Revolution Day in the Republic of Macedonia.
So maybe we should have had
Which is a fake
Macedonian
name.
food.
It's a fake name.
It's a Gordian knot.
There it is.
There's
problem.
there's a big Greece is suing the Republic of Macedonia
Why?
because it's a fake name. They stole the name. It's not it's copyright. It's trademark infringement.
On. Yeah!
You'll just have to look that up because
Spice it up.
it's time for the spice of the week.
The spice of the week is compassion. Something with which we don't flavor our lives or our food nearly enough.
But what do we flavor our food with?
On the sheet of paper here, it says oregano.
Okay.
And now I'm going to blow past that.
Well,
right back to
Oregano
compassion.
is a great spice, but I like the idea of compassion.
Yeah, well, and because it was in short supply this week as our man, Joe Biden was in town, and for some reason needed to stop traffic in all cardinal directions. Also, water stopped flowing. Waterfalls froze in midair. Helicopters were forced to the ground because he had to make it to the Poopy Campo on the 5-man quartet concert. I mean, the whole city shut down 4 times. But it's interesting when you're in one of those shutdowns. First of all, when you're stuck in traffic, as I was on the way home, and you're watching, you look and you see, first of all, you can't move. And you see that even if you can eventually move, I-90 is closed for no apparent reason. And I didn't know that this was going to be happening. But it's kind of, we're not far away from one of those 70s movies where it just becomes like, Mad Max.
Well,
People are forcing their way in and getting angry, getting out of their car, go, why am I being delayed?
Falling Down with Michael Douglas.
Yeah. I'm trying to get to Funky Winker Bean's 2-shelf jelly bean emporium before I go home, and I can't get there. I'm being delayed.
I'm kind of wondering, though, why do these politicians feel a need to travel at rush hour? Because the same thing happened when Obama came to Seattle, and he blocked traffic 6 ways from Sunday, but he felt the need to have to travel right at 5 o'clock. And it's like, okay, why do these politicians, do they not have strategic planners that
Mad
figure
with
this
power.
Kind of stuff
No,
out?
I think a lot of it is
from his volcano base.
And this isn't maybe just presidents, but all politicians. Once you get up there, well, not all politicians, but certainly the longer you've been in office, you become an egomaniac. The power goes to your head, and you don't think about the little people.
Yeah. I'm going to say
another reason for term limits.
Yeah. Well, but the point is, just kind of take a deep breath and go, how important is where I'm going right now anyway? And if
This is true.
How important is it to force my way in front of this person, to be angry? Not that I'm great. I'm not great at this either. So I just thought, we were talking. There's we're running out of our opportunity to talk here because the next course is coming up. And we got to get into the kitchen, but
finish your thought. 15 seconds.
Just the opportunity is like we were talking about. There's a lot of times you're not going to make people see your point of view. The best you can do is maybe understand theirs a little bit and just hear what they're complaining about. Hey, I'm here, you're here. We both want to get somewhere. My place is important, yours is not. But I'm going to just kind of, imagine that it is for 10 seconds. Oh, yeah.
Well, keep talking. We got another minute.
I'm just digging on the Greek noise.
You're digging on
what are we listening
Despina Vandi, who's a current pop artist.
Who doesn't?
This is Tonisi. Anyone want to take a guess at what that means in Greek?
You tell us.
Is that Greek for Tony?
The island. Lots of islands.
Tonisi. The island of Tonisi. What? Yeah. I'd like to know why it's called a Gregorian calendar.
Pope Gregory the something.
You know what it was that they changed from?
Don't tell Jack
Greer. Don't tell Jack Greer
calendar.
That's right, the Julian calendar.
Well, stay tuned. We will be enjoying some more Greek food after we pop back into the kitchen here on the Political Bistro. If you want to check us out online, do so at thepoliticalbistro.com. Be sure to like us on Facebook as well. Any questions, email us at politicalbistro@gmail.com.
Like us on.
Corey was in trouble. Company was coming over for dinner when disaster struck. There was only one person to call, Jim Dandy. Jim Dandy to the rescue.
The last thing we needed was a backed-up sewer, so we called 206-633-1141. They gave us a quote right over the phone, and they were there right away and rescued our home. The backup was cleared in less than 30 minutes, and Jim Dandy's technician treated our home with respect and care. He even put booties over his shoes before he came in. We'll gladly recommend Jim Dandy to anyone with plumbing problems.
Jim Dandy Sewer and Plumbing has been in your neighborhood since 1908. Jim Dandy's quick and reliable plumbers are available 24/7, from Everett to Tacoma and all points in between. Call Jim Dandy, 206-633-1141. Jim Dandy is a sewer repair and plumbing company that will treat your home like their very own. Calling 206-633-1141 brings
Jim Dandy to the rescue.
This Saturday on Junko's Big and Small radio show.
I got a chance to talk to Coach Rocky Seto of the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, that's Rocky Balboa.
Oh, sorry.
That's where I got growing up. God has me working for the Seattle Seahawks. I serve as one of the defensive coaches.
Listen to the rest of this interview Sunday morning at 8:30 on Freedom 1590, Junko's Big and Small radio show, a program for kids of all ages. Come celebrate liberty on Saturday evening, October 18th with radio host Michael Medved and other champions of liberty at the 2014 King County Republican Party Liberty Dinner and Auction at the Bellevue Hyatt. It's time to take back America. Your attendance at this fun event will help elect good Republicans to continue the fight for liberty in King County and beyond. For more information, to purchase tickets, or for sponsorship opportunities, please visit kcgop.org or call 425-990-0404.
And now back to the Political Bistro on Freedom 1590.
Welcome back to the Political Bistro here on Freedom 1590. I'm your maitre d', Elias Manolidis. It's my Greek name.
I'm your sous chef, boy named sous chef. I'm feeling the passionade.
I love
feeling
this
the
music.
passionade.
I love
Steve
this
Corda.
music.
I'm all about the passionade, if that's even a word.
Sure.
I got a lot of it. It results in abundant chest hair. I will tell you that. The passionade.
Okay.
Yeah, this is great music. Well, I am your server, Shelley Dudley, and as we talked about in our last segment, our course coming up this segment is Salata Oriataki. Oriatiki?
Oriatiki. That's all right.
My apologies. I need to learn to pronounce this correctly.
Time for another trip to Greece.
It is. And actually, I fell in love with the Greek people when I first went to Cyprus the first time.
How many of them did you fall in love with?
Oh, all of them. Everyone
Wow.
I met.
That was
Everyone
quite
I
a
met.
trip.
It was an awesome trip. It's awesome. It was
Yeah,
great.
they can see you kick me now. They can normally they can't see that.
Yeah, I know. Now that we're live streaming, now they can see. But yeah, we had a great time. It was a really, really excellent trip. The Greek people, I think one of the things that I love about them is that they're so warm and so friendly. Just really, really warm and kind and loving, giving people.
Indeed.
Very friendly people.
And despite what you may have read in the news 4 years ago, so my wife and I, we actually rented a house in Greece for 3 months 4 years ago, and we were leaving right when the whole turmoil was going on, and a bunch of our friends were asking, "Oh, you still planning on going to Greece? Aren't you kind of scared?" No. As long as you stayed out of Syntagma Square in Athens on, the third Tuesday of every month or whatever day they decided to have a riot, and it was pretty peaceful. It's just their way. We did get to see some communists march, though. They have real live commies in Greece.
We have those here too. They're called soccer players. Oh, yeah.
Well, we are joined during this segment by friend of the show and executive director of the King County Republican Party, Ben Oakley. Ben, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be back with you guys.
It is nice to hear your
to
voice
have you
again,
on
Ben.
So what's
I
new?
appreciate you having me back.
Yeah, of course. What's new with the King County Republican Party? You guys just went to the movie Atlas Shrugged Part 3. Did you make it to that?
Yeah, we had a great turnout for that. It's a great tradition we have for a lot of our grassroots activists to have a private showing of a good movie on a Sunday afternoon. So it's a good fundraiser for us, and this is the season of fundraising and political activity.
Indeed.
So it was a really good event, and we appreciate the support you guys have been giving for the dinner coming up on Saturday, of course.
Yeah, well, before we get too much into conversation and the night gets away from us, why don't we go ahead and give away those tickets. So first caller who can correctly answer the question, who is me? Who is
Who
Mark's,
is me?
Who is my favorite president?
And the phone number they should call?
And the phone number that they should call, they should just already know what that is, is 206-256-1590. 206-256-1590. First caller who can correctly answer the question, who is my favorite president?
That number should be the soundtrack of people's dreams.
That's right. That and 633-1141.
And just to remind our listeners, what you will win is a pair of tickets.
Right.
A pair of tickets or a single ticket? I've forgotten.
A pair of tickets.
A pair of tickets to the King County
excessive.
Republican dinner.
And Katie, let me know when someone's gone ahead and answered that question, and I can tell folks to quit calling.
Yeah.
Because the lines are just flooded here. We have so many fans.
People to quit calling. All right, you.
So-
Quit calling, you.
So Ben, after the showing, did people stick around and discuss the movie?
We actually had a reception beforehand where we had just kind of what's going on with the KCGOP, all the activities we're doing, and kind of folks just kind of lingered around. A few folks went to happy hour afterwards, so it was definitely a good time of fellowship.
Good. So what was the...
I had to get home to watch my beloved Denver Broncos on TV.
Ah, so. Yes, okay.
I'm actually calling you from Bronco country right now.
Well, we'll forgive you.
Denver. And yes, you can forgive me later. I'll buy you a beer later.
Outstanding. So what was the conversation at this cocktail party beforehand, this reception beforehand? What's going on with the KCGOP right now?
You know what? It's pretty unprecedented what we're doing at the KCGOP this year. We are spending and have raised about $125,000 to do voter ID and GeoTV work for the election coming up. Right now, we have about 20 hired staff that are going out hourly IDing voters, and we'll switch that to GeoTV here when ballots drop in about a week and a half. It's coming so quickly. It's pretty cool, the coalition that's been built with our state party, with the county party, and with some other business-minded organizations to make sure that, of course, we hold on to the Senate, and in our case, we'll pick up a few seats in the House as well.
Awesome.
So, a lot of it is in response to, there hasn't been enough chatter on it. Hopefully we're getting more information out. But the AFL-CIO and a few of their affiliates called Working Washington, it's Working American than Working Washington, have been out door to door spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, particularly in King County, but in a few other races. And they have not been reporting this to the Public Disclosure Commission, and so we've been trying to hammer that pretty good. It's not surprising. They tend to dodge public disclosure all the time. But they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars doing the exact same thing, and so we sat there and said, you know what, our candidates don't have the resources for that. It's our job as the county party to step up and carry the weight there and hammer on the other side, who frankly they're conducting illegal activities.
Good
Indeed.
Good catch.
Well, and they call themselves Working Washington, which is exactly the opposite of what will happen if the folks that they're supporting get elected. So.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, it's great that we have public disclosure laws and all that, but, if we're not actually going to be honest, you can go to our reports and see this is exactly what we're doing. And it's frustrating that an organization outside of D.C. or out of D.C., and then, of course, Tom Steyer out of California is spending $1 million to influence elections here in Washington State.
Yeah, and is he pouring his money into any races here in King County?
Primarily the two races that he's targeted is the Andy Hill race in the 45th District, spending money for Matt Eisenhower, and the 30th District against Mark Malosha. Yeah. And that's where we have seen, I have a friend of mine who's a grassroots activist. His daughter, who's about 22 years old, I believe, has been targeted with 2 mail pieces, 3 phone calls, and 2 visits at the door.
Oh, who's that?
Just for that one. I won't reveal the name, but it's
but that's just an example of what they're doing.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of infrastructure that we've always been up against in King County in particular. And the cool part is, for the first time, especially to this extent, we're fighting back on that.
Yeah, well, that's great.
We have hired staff. We have folks that are out in the field doing the work that we know needs to be done. And so, for us, if we have a Republican who's identified in our database, we have about a 92% success rate in turning them out to vote.
Yeah.
So when you talk about this election coming up, it's about voter turnout. Voter turnout is going to be 65-ish%. That favors us without question, especially without a statewide candidate, a Senate or a gubernatorial race. It's the first time in a long time we've had that.
Well, and with so many disillusioned Democrats just not liking what's going on with Obama and Biden closing down traffic.
Can you blame them?
Yeah.
Can you blame them?
And I just saw an email that came from the Democratic Party. They're stressed out. They had low turnout during the primary, and it really hurt them. So they're worried.
Right, and then of course I see the email from the chair of the state Democrats endorsing that they endorsed a yes on 1351 as well.
Which seems like that's pretty unpopular across the board. Am I right about that?
Yeah, I think my hope is it goes down. I mean, we certainly endorse the no position on that because, they passed a quote-unquote class size initiative. I believe it was Initiative 728 in 1998 or 2002 or something, and the legislature has chosen to not fully fund that because there's not the resources for that. And that was when even the Democrats controlled the legislature for majority of the last 20 years. When you look at this education funding issue, and it is an issue, you look at the McCleary decision and you say, okay, who's been controlling the state House and Senate and the governor's mansion for 20-something years? It's been the majority, Democratic Party majority of the time. The McCleary decision was an indictment on their choices to defund K-12 education and spend that money other places. Because it's not like we received a tax break with those resources. No, they were spread to other places. And now we have this shortage. And now, because the Democrats supporting 1351, which adds about $4 billion more to a $30 or so billion budget, how do they expect to pay for that?
Yeah, and the real insidious thing...
Of course, in their platform, it's, they want an income tax.
Right. Well, and the real insidious thing about I-1351 that is kind of hidden down in the lower parts of the initiative is that it's going to end up raising the revenue to the WEA by $17 million a year, which is over 50%. And that's really what it's all behind. The WEA loves to say how they're for the children, but they're really just for their union members.
Well, it's not even always their union members because a lot of their union members don't even know what they actually do.
Sure, well, it's union leadership.
It's union structure. It's union bureaucracy.
It's their treasury, their bureaucracy, and their leadership. Absolutely. Absolutely. And for their influence in Olympia. And the reality is, I worked in Olympia for 3 years, and they are the most powerful union there. They rail, the other side tends to rail against special interests all the time, but who's the most powerful special interest in Olympia? It's the WEA, hands
followed
down.
Closely by the SEIU.
Not absolutely. And then, you sit there and look at, they rail against the amount of, corporate spending on our side among business. But you know what? In Washington State in particular, labor union combined campaign spending is 10 times the amount of the combined business spending in elections.
Well, Ben, thank you for joining us. One other quick fact I'll throw about I-531, only half of it's going to only lead to the hiring of, half the people they hire will be teachers. The other half will be union bureaucrats.
School bus drivers, lunch ladies, etc.
Exactly. So be sure to come to the King County Republican Party Liberty Dinner, which is happening at the Bellevue Hyatt next Saturday, the 18th. Congratulations to Jennifer, who won those tickets. So we look forward to seeing you there. You can go to kcgop.org to buy tickets since you didn't win.
Yeah, and I don't think I have a ticket. So Jennifer, if you want a date, call in.
With SRN News, I'm Jeremy House in Washington. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel says the U.S. is making considerable progress in its negotiations with Turkey over plans to train and equip moderate Syrian rebels fighting Islamic State militants. Speaking from Chile, Hagel also says U.S. airstrikes have made progress against the Islamic extremists trying to take control of the Syrian border town of Kobani. Meanwhile, a senior Kurdish official says the situation in Kobani is dire. He says Kurdish fighters with simple weapons are in a desperate battle against heavily armed militants. There's some encouraging news coming out of Omaha. The American video journalist being treated for Ebola at the Nebraska Medical Center is showing modest improvement. And a federal judge has filed a permanent injunction against enforcement of a tough Texas voter ID law. The state's attorney general says he'll appeal. The ruling is a defeat for Republican-backed photo ID measures. More details at srnnews.com.
If you're the mother of a child with behavior problems, I'd like to talk to you. My name is Janet Lehman. I'm a behavioral therapist and a mom. I know what it's like when the child you love becomes a defiant, out-of-control child who disrespects you. That's why my husband James and I created the Total Transformation, the program that tens of thousands of moms are now using to turn around their child's behavior. If you've heard about the Total Transformation and wondered if it will work for you, now you can try it for free. I'm willing to give away 1,000 programs today for free. All you need to do is get the program and let us know how it works for you. We'll let you keep it for free. I know the total transformation works because I used these techniques with my own son and with troubled kids for over 30 years. Let me prove to you that it works by giving you the program for free.
Call now. 1-800-753-4574. 1-800-753-4574. That's 1-800-753-4574.
And now back to the Political Bistro on Freedom 1590.
Or whatever. Do what you do.
Welcome back to the Political Bistro. I am your maitre d', Mark Griswold, and we're listening to Stathres Distrates, which is Walking With You by Yorgos Zambetas. I listened to a lot of this music when I was in Greece.
Hey, who doesn't listen to a lot of Yorgos Zambetas? Whenever.
Always.
Always, wherever.
He sings about the cats and dogs.
See.
Skilos y yatas. Que yatas. And you are, sir?
I am your boy named sous chef, Steve Corda.
And I am your server, Shelley Dudley. Our course tonight
standing like a real waitress.
Indeed, our third course tonight is tafori krasotto, which is octopus in wine, and that sounds beautiful.
How's that served?
And we also have, octopus is served in wine.
In a bottle?
on a bed of rice pilaf, I mean, is what that looks like, right?
It is.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Now, I'm not a fan of octopus. Do you have a second choice?
If you don't care for octopus, I love octopus personally, but if you don't care for that, then we also have a beautiful arni cito, and that is
Cito.
And that is a roast lamb. Thank you for helping me with my Greek pronunciation.
My pleasure.
A lovely roast lamb with roasted potatoes.
All words come from Greek. Give me a word, any word. Tell you the Greek word.
Indeed.
And you know what else? Did you know that the world's oldest bathtub is actually in Greece?
Yeah.
It's true. It's at a place called Nestor's Palace on the Peloponnese Peninsula and dates back to 1300 BC. In addition to the bathtub, the Mycenaean palace also had a sewage system, something that was quite advanced for its day. Now, I've been to Nestor's Palace, and while I was very impressed by what my
on
Greek
the Peloponnese Peninsula.
Yes.
Okay. That was the name of my college band.
The Peloponnese
Nestor's
Peninsula?
Palace on the Peloponnese Peninsula.
Awesome.
We quit because we just couldn't say our name. I won't tell you what our hit single was called.
Neither could your fan.
But it was 95 syllables. All right, go ahead.
I was very impressed by what my Greek ancestors did 3,300 years ago. I'd be pretty disappointed if my plumbing looked like that today. And while I'm guessing your plumbing isn't 3,300 years old, even if it's 33 years old, you might be experiencing some problems. And if you are, you'll want to give our great friends at sponsor of the Political Bistro, the folks over at Jim Dandy Sewer and Plumbing, a call. Who knows, maybe if they'd been around 3,300 years ago to work on Nestor's Palace, I wouldn't mind living there today. But while they weren't in business back in 1300 BC, they have been in business since 1908, making them the most established plumber in town and a name you can trust. And they're state-of-the-art, too. Jim Dandy Sewer and Plumbing does video drain inspection, green plumbing, even the new hybrid hot water tanks. Of course, they'll unclog that mess in your drain faster than I can say micho kompensemenos aptokaphesis ke hygenis. And unlike Greek austerity measures, they'll also... Wow, I can read the Greek, but I've stumbled over the English. They're also easy on the pocketbook, too. Unlike
everyone that wondered what your problem is, now we know.
English is my second language.
English is clumsy.
Unlike some other plumbing companies, they only charge by the half hour, and they'll even give you a quote right over the phone. It's no surprise, then, that they're an A-plus rated with the BBB and an Angie's List Super Service Award winner. So give Jim Dandy a call today at 206-633-1141. That's 206-633-1141 or on the web at jimdandysewer.com. There you go.
Great people and great values.
And now we are joined by our guest for this second segment, judicial candidate and Judge Pro Tem, Lisa O'Toole. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And you can see Lisa, a very charming-looking lady, if you go to Facebook.com and go to our live stream right now on YouTube. So, Lisa, one of the things about judicial races is they're not very controversial, which maybe they should be more controversial, but I Googled your name, and other than your website, There's a couple articles out there, but they're all there. There's no hard-hitting pieces, good or bad. It seems like you got a great website, but tell us more about yourself. Why should we vote for you?
Well, I've been practicing law for 27 years. I started out in civil practice in a private litigation firm in downtown Seattle, one of the biggest firms in the city at the time. And then I moved to the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office, where I had a criminal practice, and I tried felonies and misdemeanors and worked in the appellate unit and the identity theft unit. And I've supervised attorneys and staff and hired them as well throughout my career. And then the last 6 years, I've been a pro tem judge throughout King County District Court system, as well as the number of municipal courts. And I've enjoyed that work. And I am the only candidate in my race who has civil experience, private litigation, civil litigation experience. And that experience is really important because that's a big part of what happens in King County District Court.
Well, the majority. Probably the overwhelming majority of the cases are civil, right?
Well, no, correct, really. Approximately 2/3 are criminal, and 1/3 civil. We handle civil matters up to $75,000, and we handle small claims matters and traffic infractions. And then the bulk of the criminal matters are things like DUIs, driving under the influence, misdemeanor level assaults, such as domestic violence assaults, and shoplift level thefts. We handle domestic violence protection orders and stalking protection orders, name change calendars. We also do felony first appearances.
And one of the articles I found about you was you helped put away a child molester or potential child molester. So that's good.
Oh, that was probably felony first appearance calendar. You saw me on the jail calendar, I think, in an article.
You'd set bail for $50,000 for So can't argue with that for sure. One article I was just recently in the Seattle Times, maybe you saw it, an editorial, Fight Citizens for Judicial Excellence's Cynicisms, Flip-Flops on the Courts. Did you happen to read this?
I did. I saw that, and preceding it, there was a news article as well a couple days before that editorial.
And it's basically saying that judges, that this group is trying to stack the courts with judges that are more sympathetic to defendants. So tell us about that. Is that true, or?
Well, the organization is a PAC, and as any PAC, they have their agenda, and they clearly stated on their website that their goal and their mission is to affect races, judicial races in courts of limited jurisdiction where they appear. They are predominantly DUI defense lawyers, and other defense lawyers are their membership. And as a PAC, they have fundraising events, and they have a war chest that they've amassed, and they target particular races that they want to have an impact on, apparently.
Now, you might not be able to comment on their effect on your race directly, but would you say that there's too much of a bias towards the prosecutorial side currently in our courts, King County courts, or?
Well, I mean, our courts aren't biased, and we certainly strive, of course, to be impartial and fair, and that is the biggest undertaking of the court, is to have public confidence in the court system, and the only way you can do that is to have an impartial set of judges. So, in terms of my race, to my knowledge, they haven't gotten in my race, that particular PAC. I am not a member of that PAC. They have targeted 2 other races in particular. However, according to the Public Disclosure Commission here in Washington State, my opponent has been a contributor and a contributing member of that PAC. So they may choose to enter my race, but they are in 2 other races, particularly on the east side, the Northeast Division, which is the greater East King County.
So you just said, the judicial system is supposed to be unbiased, and as a judge, you can't really take a position like a legislative candidate would. So how do we choose as voters which judge? Does it just come down to experience, would you say, or?
that's one of the most difficult things, I think, for voters, because when they get down the ballot, they often don't know what to do because it is a nonpartisan race, so they can't identify a particular judicial candidate with a party. And so really, it's difficult for them. And so they tend to look at things like votingforjudges.org. Votingforjudges.org is an independent site that lists all of the Bar Association ratings that judges have amassed, and they put them in a grid and compare for each race. For instance, I am there with my opponent's ratings side by side so that people can gather all of that in one place. Obviously, the voters' guides are useful, but really for voters, what they need to look at, of course, is experience and the qualifications. And I bring particularly 27 years of legal practice, civil and criminal experience, and experience as a pro tem judge. The civil practice experience is important because we handle those cases up to $75,000. And the impact of a $75,000 case on any individual or any family's financial well-being is huge.
Yeah.
Same with any small business. To have a case worth $75,000 can have a huge and potentially devastating impact on anyone's bottom line. And so to have a judge who has that kind of experience is really essential. The other thing that people look at, of course, is endorsements. And I'm very widely endorsed, starting with Supreme Court justices through appellate court judges, Superior Court, District Court, Municipal Court judges, law enforcement endorsements, our King County prosecutor, who's Dan Satterberg, our King County Sheriff, John Urquhart, a number of elected officials and community leaders as well.
On both sides of the aisle.
On both sides of the aisle, bipartisan support. And all these disparate people, what they have, in common is that they've all endorsed me as the best candidate for the race, for the job.
Shelley, did you have any questions or?
No.
Okay, no worries.
I did earlier, but we've covered it.
Okay. One thing that we hear much more on the national level is, with the Supreme Court is this whole idea of strict constitutionalists versus, the living Constitution idea. And I think that people, they make a decision, I like this judge on the Supreme Court, or I don't like him based on that. Do you have any opinion on that in the last minute we have?
Oh, well, it's interesting because judges are bound by a code of judicial conduct that is set out. And so we can't really take a political position on any particular law or any particular case or say how we might rule. I think that the judges, what they have to do in district court, which is very different than what happens in Supreme Court, even our state Supreme Court, where they're looking at constitutional issues. We are dealing with the facts of a particular case and how the law in that applies to that particular case. And each case is so unique and is decided by the facts of that case. And then we apply the law that comes to us through our legislature and our case law to the particular facts in front of us.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us, Lisa O'Toole, candidate for judge. And if people want to find out more, your website
is www.lisaotooleforjudge.com.
Great. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Corey was in trouble. Company was coming over for dinner when disaster struck. There was only one person to call, Jim Dandy. Jim Dandy to the rescue.
The last thing we needed was a backed up sewer, so we called 206-633-1141. They gave us a quote right over the phone, and they were there right away and rescued our home. The backup was cleared in less than 30 minutes, and Jim Dandy's technician treated our home with respect and care. He even put booties over his shoes before he came in. We'll gladly recommend Jim Dandy to anyone with plumbing problems.
Jim Dandy Sewer and Plumbing has been in your neighborhood since 1908. Jim Dandy's quick and reliable plumbers are available 24/7, from Everett to Tacoma and all points in between. Call Jim Dandy, 206-633-1141. Jim Dandy is a sewer repair and plumbing company that will treat your home like their very own. Calling 206-633-1141 brings
Jim Dandy to the rescue.
And now back to the Political Bistro on Freedom 1590.
Oh, it's Shelley's favorite song. Ta Strumphakia. Little Greek techno, little Greek Smurf techno.
It is techno.
The Smurfs called Strumps in Greece. And actually, most countries actually call Smurfs Strumps.
Let's see. If I were a Greek Smurf, if I were a Greek grouchy Smurf, and I wanted to say, I hate love, like he said, how would I say that in Greek?
Don't put me on the spot.
Well, it's a more. Yeah.
Well, love is agape.
Agape.
And I can't remember what hate is.
Because you don't hate.
I can't remember either. No, that's it.
You can have compassion.
I just know echo agapo, which is echo sagapo would be I love you. So that's all. Because I'm a lover, not a hater.
There you
us
are.
Greeks are
all the Greeks are
very famous
the
for
warm
loving.
weather.
And who am I? I'm your
are.
maitre d', Mark Griswold, or Ilias Manolidis today.
I am your boy named sous chef, Steve Korda.
I am your server, Shelley Dudley, and unfortunately we are on our final course, but it has been a great evening. Our final course this evening, we are rounding it out with some beautiful, beautiful baklava, and we have, as an alternative, a lovely risogalo, which is a rice pudding, or bugatsa, a custard pastry. So you have your choice.
And it's all just super sugary and good, but not too sugary. It's not like crazy, but it's just crazy.
But I can't imagine going to Greece and not having baklava.
You know,
is that what terrorists wear over their faces?
Yeah,
baklava. That would be a different world if terrorists wore baklavas instead of balaclavas.
Terrorists probably should wear baklava over their heads.
Then there'd be no reason to terrorize.
Mediterranean food is it could be very bad if you were going through customs because you've got hummus.
If you described what you had,
you've got hummus. And you've got,
baklava.
I don't know, domathes. I suppose that could be some kind of weapon.
That could be an incendiary device.
Improvised explosive domathes.
Indeed. So, speaking of incendiary devices, I have this short little piece here.
Sure.
Puget Sound Energy is getting some new heat about the 30% of its electricity that comes from burning Montana coal. So last Wednesday in Olympia, the utility company was presented with more than 10,000 petitions asking that it step up the use of clean energy and energy efficiency instead. Bob Gunther with IBEW says the electricians union represents many coal plant workers. He doesn't want to see them out of jobs and is convinced the utility can craft a transition plan to benefit workers in Washington and Montana as well as the environment.
Yeah, and I heard those ads on when I was listening to Pandora, because I don't always listen to Freedom 1590, but
most of the time.
I don't always listen to Freedom 1590, but when I do, it's the best station I listen to.
That's it.
And it's just it's just another example of the dishonesty of the left. Like, it's the end of the world here if we're using coal. And coal is a lot different than what you saw in Dickens-era London. It's quite clean these days. And the real rub is they want to replace it with wind energy, at least according to this commercial that I heard.
Which sure they have a lot of.
Well, apparently, nice.
At least they're working with an abundant resource.
They don't want to replace it with water because apparently water is no longer a renewable resource. Who knew? But the thing is, with this wind power over in eastern Washington, you can obviously only make power when the wind is blowing. And since there are no liberals over in eastern Washington, or very few of them, the wind doesn't blow very often, or not as often as you'd think. But they need to keep these fans turning because the blades are so large. If they just sit there, the blades will warp. So what happens when the blades aren't turning and they need to use power? Where do they get that power? Oh, they can't get it from wind, so they have to get it from somewhere else, like coal. So it actually doesn't.
Liberal plans run on rainbows.
Oh,
and
right.
hope.
Oh,
it's a new day and new days. That's how they'll power the turbines.
It's so fun to be a liberal.
I think, I've been watching a lot of TV, and it's starting to make sense.
Because the only problems in liberal land are like Columbus.
The problems in liberal.
We
yeah.
can't. We don't.
Oh, no.
There's no problems
How did
going.
This happen?
There's no problems going on in the world today, and if there are, the only way we can solve these problems, before we can solve the problems of today,
we need to legislate.
Must address the problems of 500 years ago.
Yep.
Like Columbus. This is what the Seattle City Council spent their week doing last week. Our good friend Shama Sawant.
My people just took a slap in the face.
So what has Shama
they
been
hate
up to?
Italians. Oh, and this is an interesting thing about
They
the
said
left,
that.
right?
I read that in the Times.
I missed this article.
So the right tends to be very cohesive because we all just kind of want the same thing. We want government to leave us alone. So we're not going to run into little problems with the gun owners going against the people that want traditional family values. Our conflicts, our interests don't conflict. But the left, sometimes they do. And this happened, and this is always fun when it does. Ralph Vasatelli, who is from Ceasefire, Washington, actually got none too pleased by the city council passing this Native American Indigenous Peoples Day to be held at the same day as Columbus Day. And he says, "We empathize with the death and destruction of the Native Americans, but we think right now that it's almost going too far in terms of political correctness." So when you've lost people like Ralph Vasatelli, Kashama, maybe time to pull it back a little bit. And their whole thing is, the biggest lie that they like to tell is, and you can read about this in 10 Big Lies About America by Michael Medved, fellow Salem host, this whole genocide. They call it genocide. Now, genocide by definition is planned, it's murder.
It's the destruction of a race.
Directly.
Or a culture.
And on purpose.
Yes.
So Columbus sets foot, smallpox ensues, and wipes out a lot of Indians. It's tragic. I'm not saying it's tragic, but it's not genocide. They didn't mean to do it. If it is genocide, then we need to go after the Asians for importing the Black Plague into Europe and eliminating almost as many people comparatively.
It definitely
probably
was not
more
a planned thing.
Well, the genocide refers more to the 1800s and the the Trail of Tears and that sort of thing, and you have a case for that. Problem is, all this is getting lumped into one.
But they do include the smallpox in there a lot.
Well, who's they? That's my issue. Is who clamored for this?
Well, funnily enough, it's a lot of times it's Indians, but they're East Indians,
People
like
from India.
Shama Sawant.
Oh, okay.
Well, we were watching the Seattle Washington D.C. game this past Monday, and you pointed out on the sidelines there were some Native Americans dressed in Redskins garb, playing a drum, and they seemed to be quite okay with it.
I don't. If somebody walks up and says, "This is painful to me," this is hurting me, then I would say, well, hey, let's consider that. But I'm not seeing that or hearing that in any of these issues. And I grew up in Montana, and there was never an issue with Columbus.
Right.
There was an issue with, things happening in the present. But
they know that they're losing the debate on things like the economy and jobs and national defense and Obamacare, and the list goes on and on. So they come up with these fake
it's all to
crises.
Distract us while Al Gore is busy in his Volcano Underground hive.
Yes.
So by failing to focus
Don't
on
try
the
to be
issues that
serious.
matter, they focus on non-issues and political correctness to the extreme.
Instead, we should all just be like Zorba.
Yes, now's the time to put
who
our arms around
actually
each other.
really
clumsily
did nothing and was pretty
shuffle
lazy.
from
But
place
in
to
general,
place.
Greeks are pretty hardworking. We get a bad rap. We just like to have a lot of fun.
The Nikos Kazantzakis.
We have a lot of fun dancing. And
We
you know
do.
what?
If this is called dancing, I love it.
We like to
This is
solve
something I can
problems
do.
in 4 easy courses here.
Yes.
If we'd all just, one thing you can do, be more like Greeks. And the world would be a better place.
Yes.
Be a Greek beast
Now, just a couple things. Next week, judicial candidate Marcus Naylor will be joining us. He's the opponent of our guest today. And Jeff Potter of the Washington Alliance on Gun Responsibility will be talking about I-594. So be sure to tune in next week here on the Political Bistro.
Farewell, youth of America.
guess I could have talked more.
The preceding program was sponsored by Jim Dandy Sewer and Plumbing, and the opinions expressed on the preceding program were not necessarily those of the staff, management, or advertisers of this station.
Freedom 1590 weather.
Here's the weather for the Northwest.
Light to possibly moderate showers will continue tonight. An overnight low right around 55 degrees. We'll see a decrease in our rain on Sunday. Our high right around 65. Sunday night, mainly dry, an overnight low to mid-50s, and we'll increase our chance of rain again for Monday, 65. Showers likely on Tuesday. I'm meteorologist Sally Russell in the Storm Report forecast.
Thank you.